projects and you get a huge amount of invoicing done, but then it seems like you're left with nothing because you've paid out your VAT, you've paid out your subbies, and you've paid out your suppliers, and there doesn't ever seem to be enough for you. Or maybe the frustration is you can never have a cash buffer in your business. It always seems like you're scrimping and scraping to make the bills at the end of the month. If that's the case, I really want you to listen carefully to this video that I'm about to show you now, because I really believe that a profit-first approach to your cash flow could be the solution that you're looking for. Now, profit first is not a concept I come up with. I wish I was clever enough to come up with this concept, but it's actually based on a book by Mike Michalowicz. He's an American author, and he teaches this strategy, profit first, and it's a great book. I really encourage you to go out and read that book if you're going to apply this system. You can see it's already got over 5,800 almost 5-star reviews there. So it really is a tried and tested formula. And another book that goes alongside it, which is quite a nice fit, is Profit First for Contractors. It is US based, but it's still quite a good book for you to learn from, and it just adapts some of these strategies in there too. So they're the two books that this is based on, and I've studied these in real detail and taken the best bits out of it. Now, I know that one of the big frustrations is that you feel like you're profitable, you're making money on your projects, but you're just not getting anything at the end that you can have for yourself. And the reason for that often is that we're thinking the wrong way about our cash flow. And Profit First just identifies why this is a problem, because traditional accounting does something like this. It does sales, so your turnover, minus all your expenses, your labor, materials, and your overheads, will equal your profit, what's left at the end. So we understand that. That's how we've always done accounting and how it'll probably always be done going forward. That's why profit is always at the bottom of a profit and loss report. Even though that's the most important thing, it's left till last, isn't it? But Profit First flips this on its head, this strategy. And what it does is it does sales minus your profit. So you take out your wages and you take out the profit that the business needs to invest in itself and keep going. You put that to one side, and that tells you what your expenses should be. And it's a really interesting way of doing it, because immediately if you start doing this and you realize, wait a minute, I can't cover my expenses, it raises a red flag and you think, well, why can't you cover the expenses? And it leads you to ask the question, is it because my overheads are too high? And if you can honestly say, no, my overheads are not high at all, I run extremely lean, and you're still not making any money, then there's a profitability problem there, not a cash flow problem. It's a profitability problem. It either means you're pricing too low or you're not delivering fast enough. But if you can't actually make money on your projects, that's a whole another subject. But this video is more about when you know you're making money on your projects, but you just can't get a cash buffer in place in order to keep growing as a company, and it's causing you stress. So if that's the case, keep listening to this. So principle number one there, as we've seen, is we're going to flip the cash flow thinking on its head, and we're going to do it this way: sales minus profit equals our expenses. And there's ways of working out what that should be, and the training guide that I've got along with this video, the workbook where I do a summary of the Profit First book, talks all about that and the certain percentages that you can work out as a business. The second principle of Profit First is that we distribute our expenses into smaller envelopes or smaller wallets or smaller bank accounts. And you might be familiar with this sort of strategy. Maybe your when your granddad come back from work and he might have had his income, he says, right, there you go, I've got £100 that I've earned this week. Your gran would then go and put that money, and she would put some of it into the rent, and she'd pay the electrics, and she'd pay the groceries, and she might put some into savings, and it would all be distributed down into wallets so that your gran knew that at the end of the month she didn't have to worry about paying the bills. All the money was there, and they didn't have any temptation to go and spend it. And this is the problem with construction companies, and I see this all the time, because we're dealing with such huge amounts of money that come in. You know, sometimes you're invoicing 50 grand here and 100 grand there, and you're getting these big lumps in. When you get paid that amount, you can feel like you're rich for a few days, and you think, right, let me go and buy that new truck, or let me go and buy that new DeWalt chop saw that I've had my eye on for a long time. And it can get easy to be carried away and start spending some of that money, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you start paying everything out, you pay your VAT and all your overheads, and there's nothing left. Or even worse, you actually still owe out money, at the end of it. And that's really painful, isn't it? But what the principle is, if we can deal with envelopes and start putting the money aside, so as soon as that 100 grand comes in, you immediately make a distribution into your other bank accounts. So you say, right, I'm going to put 20 grand into the VAT account, I'm going to put 10 grand into CIS and 30 grand into the operating expenses, whatever it is. And there's certain percentages that you can work out that makes this nice and easy, which we talk about in the training guide. If you can do it that way, it removes all temptation from you. It makes you don't feel rich and you don't want to spend the money because it's already been distributed out and you know that you've got everything covered. And that's a real stress-free way of doing it, because there's nothing worse, is there, than getting to the end of the month and being surprised by a huge VAT bill and you're scrabbling around to try and pay it. It really is demoralising, isn't it? And can cause real stress and sleepless nights. So at least if we do it this way, we can have absolute confidence and we can think, I don't have to worry about it. I've got the money there, it's put aside, and when the VAT bill comes in, you can empty that bank account, pay the VAT bill, and there may even be a surplus left over for you to distribute back into your profits. So that's the aim of putting it into envelopes and wallets. And the third principle is, once we've distributed the money into wallets, the third principle is to make sure we're always trying to cut the fat in the business. And it's so easy to start getting excess weight in the company. So it might be that subscription that you no longer need, that software that you no longer use, that van lease that no one is really using or you shouldn't have taken out. And before you know it, as you start growing, you just naturally get more wastage in the business. And it's really important to analyze that regularly, at least every 3 months, maybe even once a month if you can, and look at your profit and loss and look at your overheads and think, do I really need this? Or can I get rid of it? Is it essential or can it go? But one word of caution with that, we're not just cutting expenses for cutting expenses' sake, we're cutting the fat. What we don't want to cut is the muscle in the business. If there's things that we're paying out for that are generating us income or they're helping us improve as a company, then we could describe that as muscle. It's making us stronger. We don't want to get rid of that. So maybe we're spending out on ads, but the ads is generating our work. Then, of course, we don't want to be just cutting ads just for the sake of it. Maybe we've got an accountant that's helping us. If he's helping us grow as an accountant, then we won't cut the accountant. Maybe it's a business coach. I've got to say that, being a business coach. But maybe your business coach is your muscle and you're improving as a business by having that business coach. So you're not going to cut the business coach. So cut the fat, but not the muscle in the business. If it's providing you value and you're improving because of it, then only cut what is necessary in order to keep as a lean operation. So they're the 3 principles that you want to apply there. Make sure that you flip the formula on its head. So we're going to do sales minus profit equals expenses. So we're going to work out what the expenses should be and make sure the profit comes out first. We're going to ensure that we distribute all the money down into wallets and different bank accounts so that we know we've got it covered. And the last thing we're going to do is continually cut the fat in the business and not the muscle. If you can do those 3 things, it's really going to help you manage your cash flow. And I know we've only just briefly touched on it on this short 10-minute video, but ensure that you read the book or download my summary guide and go through it in detail. Make sure you spend some time going through it, because when you get this right, it really relieves stress and it will help you grow as a company. So I hope that helps.